I will be going through the elixirs in alphabetical order. And when I say elixirs, these are elixirs as named by the game. However, I'm not including the elixirs you can make from speaking to Araj or Blodra, because I think that's a slightly different mechanic, and I think it should be dealt in a separate video. Now, before I go and actually start using elixirs, you can either buy them or you can create them. So on PC, if you press H, you can bring up the alchemy window. And we've got this submenu here called elixirs. These are the ones that I've found in this playthrough. I've loaded up an old save on one of my early playthroughs. And the last thing I've got to say about elixirs before going through them is that you can, and I kind of do see them as an extra gear slot. So if you drink one elixir and drink another, the second one overwrites the effect of the first, and you lose the effect of the first elixir. So it's pretty much like having a gear slot, except you don't drag anything in, you just drink the elixirs. So the first elixir is the Elixir of Arcane Cultivation, which looks like this. Gain an additional level 1 spell slot, and each of the elixirs says replaces effect from other elixirs when drunk. So yeah, we have one extra level 1 spell slot. Gale currently has 4, with 1 already used up. So if I drink this, you can see it fills up one of the used spell slots. Let's say he just casts Mage Armor on himself. He's then used that spell slot, and if he drinks another elixir, let's just say acid resistance, he already used the spell slot up, so he doesn't lose it. So you can use the elixir, cast a spell, and then drink another one, so you've effectively gained an extra spell slot in that long rest. Now there are 4 types of Arcane Cultivation elixirs. This is the weakest, which does the level 1 spell slots, and I just don't find it that useful, that needed. So Arcane Cultivation is level 1, Greater Arcane Cultivation is level 2 spell slot, Superior Arcane Cultivation is level 3, and Supreme is level 4. So one of the reasons I put Arcane at the bottom is because we've got these better ones. But secondly, one thing you have to keep in mind is the opportunity cost. So if I've got one of the better elixirs and suddenly I want an extra level 1 spell slot, I've got to lose the effect of that elixir, which I really, really don't like. And long rests are not that difficult to have. There's plenty of food in camp supplies in Act 1. I've never not been able to take a long rest when I want one. So as a consequence, I'm actually just going to go and put the other Arcane Cultivations up now. Maybe I can put Supreme up to B, but I'm just not that impressed because of the opportunity cost of using them is very high in general, because we have so many better elixirs than just a single extra level spell slot. Where I can see it being useful is if you're kind of at your limit in a battle, your spellcasters have used their spell slots, and you want to get a fireball out, so you drink an elixir of Superior Arcane Cultivation. That's fine, that works well, but it's just 1 extra spell slot. It's not that amazing. So yeah, I'm not that impressed by these elixirs. I rarely take them, if I'm honest. Next up is Barkskin, an elixir of Barkskin. Let's bring these back up. This won't have any effect on any of my characters, not even Shadowheart. Drink to increase your armor class to 16, replaces effects from other elixirs. So if she drinks it, it has no effect because her armor class is already higher. If I take off her shield, the minimum it gets to is 16, and take off her armor here, it's still 16. And kind of interestingly, you can see her skin has turned slightly barky, kind of a bit like wood. Maybe you could have this on a druid who shapeshifts, so their armor class is 16. But honestly, I think I've already shown you just now, almost all your characters should have an armor class of higher than 16, especially towards the end. And I haven't even focused on armor class here for these characters. This is an easy D, sadly. I mean, this goes with the level 2 spell. It's slightly better than the level 2 spell because it doesn't require concentration. Next up is Battlemage's Power. This is our first strong elixir, I would say. So let's just find it. Oh, I've only got 2. Let's, before I take it, I just want to show you. Gale's spell save DC is 22. Spell attack bonus is plus 18. Pretty good. He will take an elixir of Battlemage's Power, which gives him Arcane Acuity. And it says for 3 turns remaining, which when I first took this, I was a bit like, oh wow, just for 3 turns. But it refreshes every turn. So we can see here, oh, back up to 3. So now his spell save DC is 25 and his spell attack bonus is 21, which massively increases his chances of the spells he has to work. Although already had a good chance anyway. So banishment like 100%, even though a 20 should save someone. There's Wakilla, 50%, 95, 85%. He's going to be getting off these spells on any enemy he wants. Let's head back to Civilization. And let's even just have a look at some guards. I'm not actually going to fight them. Polymorph 100%, 100%, 75% here. Fireball 100%, 100%. Like, everything's going to be hitting. Now, it does say, reduce the duration by 2 each time the entity takes damage. This is still true. So if I could get Will to try and hit Gale. Not react. And it's gone down to 1, but it's okay. Once this runs out, we'll go up to 3 turns again. So there we have it. I really like this. This is very powerful for anyone who's casting spells. Having a +3 bonus to spell save DC is really, really strong. Next up is Bloodlust. Now this save file is in Tactician mode, not Honor mode, and this is one of the few elixirs that actually has a difference between the two. But let's see what it does first. Drink to enter a Bloodlust. Once per turn, when you kill a foe, you gain 5 temporary hit points and an additional action. So I kind of do need to get into a fight for this. Difference between Tactician and Honor mode is that in Tactician and below, if you are a melee class, that has extra attacks. So I've got these 8 levels in Barbarian, so at level 5 it gets 2 extra attacks. It gets 2 attacks. In Tactician and below, we can get 2 more extra attacks. However, in Honor mode, I'd only get 1 extra attack. I'm also going to give one to Gale, actually, just to show this off. So I need to make them a foe first.
You were witnessed assaulting someone.
So I'm just going to rage for the sake of it. So I killed him there with my going into my rage because of this helmet, which deals 2d4 psychic damage if enemies make or fail a wisdom saving throw. And now he has an extra action there and 5 temporary hit points. But killing more than one enemy in a round doesn't give an extra action still. It's not kind of doesn't stack up like that. And because I'm not in Honor mode, I get to make 2 extra attacks now. And then Gale, hopefully this will work, as a spellcaster. There we are. Had an Elixir Bloodlust, and now we can cast another spell if he wants to. If. Ha. Job done. Easy S tier. In Honor mode, it's less useful on melee characters, but still very powerful on spellcasters. Next up is the Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength. Gives you the strength of a Cloud Giant, which is a strength of 27. Increases your strength to 27. These don't generally come available until later in the game. But now, if we looked at the character sheet, strength is 27. Regardless of what it was before. Especially powerful on melee characters, even more powerful on anyone using Tavern Brawler. Particularly, well, not particularly, but monks will more naturally tend towards using Tavern Brawler. Anyone who is using throwing weapons with Tavern Brawler also benefits a lot. One other benefit is if you know and you want to always drink an Elixir of Strength, you can, at character creation or when you respec, put your strength down to 8 and put those stat points into something else. Such as here, this character would benefit from having a higher wisdom, probably, so they don't fail as many wisdom saving throws. But you could put it into whatever you want. Charisma, if it's your main character, the character you want to do lots of speaking. Another second one in a row, easy S tier. No doubt about it. And there is another Elixir of Giant Strength. This one's Hill Giant Strength. I'm going to stick it in A only because we eventually get this much stronger Elixir of Cloud Giant Strength. The Elixir of Hill Giant Strength sets your strength to 21. And also definitely not S, because a strength of 20 and a strength of 21 have the same bonuses. So if you have a strength of 20, this actually does nothing for you particularly. It might increase your carry weight by a small amount, but that's about it. But still really strong otherwise. Like both of these, very, very useful. And again, thinking about opportunity costs, just going back to these ones further down, if your wizard has taken an Elixir of Battlemage's power, you have to give up that +3 spell save DC or spell attack bonus for 1 extra spell slot, or Barkskin, for example. That's not my cup of tea. Next up is Elixir of the Colossus. Drink to increase your size, which is basically the same as enlarged, right? Weapons deal an additional 1d4 damage. You gain advantage on strength checks and saves, and replaces effects from other elixirs. So Tavernaut here is going to take that. He's gotten a bit larger. And before I go any further, I'm just going to show this off now. We can even cast Enlarge on someone who's taken an Elixir of the Colossus, and look how crazily big they get. And this is kind of where the Albert from Top Rope trick comes from for jumping on people, jumping on Grim, because not only does it increase your size, his weight is now 10,010 pounds, pretty large. And so when you deal damage, this is now with both being enlarged and having the elixir of the Colossus. We gain a plus 1d4 bonus from the elixir and 1d4 bonus from the spell. And if I was to throw, I've probably got a very high chance to pass this. Oh, it doesn't show it here, but throwing enemies at least forces a check. There we are, athletics successful. It doesn't show the real difficulty class, it says 0. It's obviously not 0. But I had advantage because of the elixir and the spell. I've kind of, you don't get double advantage. Anyway, I think it's solid. It's only really good for melee characters. You're not going to get much use out of it on spellcasters, unfortunately. One benefit over the spell is, 1, it doesn't require concentration, and 2, it lasts for a whole long rest. It's an extra 1d4 damage, advantage on those skill checks. It's got its uses. Next up is the Elixir of Darkvision, which does the same as the scroll, to be honest. I wouldn't really, I drink to gain the ability to see in the dark up to 40 feet. And this is where opportunity cost comes into play. So yes, Gale is a human. He doesn't have dark vision naturally. But if I really want to give him dark vision, I'd probably be better off using the spell instead. You get more level 2 and above spell slots than you do elixirs of dark vision, that's for sure. And dark vision doesn't require concentration. And you can get scrolls of dark vision as well. So I'm going to leave this down and see. Not every character even gets use out of it anyway. Again, opportunity cost compared to the ones above, it's just a bit too high. Before I get to the final few here, do just want to remind you, this is just my casual opinion. Please do let me know if you've got any other points or tips or uses for these elixirs I've missed out. Alright, next up, Guilefule Movement. I'd probably best get out of here before I get into too much trouble. Your movement speed can't be reduced by difficult terrain or spells, can't be paralyzed or restrained. It pretty much gives you freedom of movement, the spell freedom of movement. So, Will, you haven't really taken many so far. Let's give that to you. So now, yeah, he can't have his speed reduced or anything. Ooh, right, so... So, Will can walk through here. He's got 40 feet of movement. So we can get through here without any reduction in movement speed. He might still fall over, because it doesn't protect you from falling prone. But he is immune to the effects of difficult terrain.
No obstacle too great.
So if we help him back up, which uses an action,
Where am I needed?
we can keep going, but, still fall prone. I think this is okay. It's the same effect as a level 4 spell, not to be sniffed at. It's a bit defensive, and something I would say about the game is it doesn't really reward you for being defensive as much as being offensive and attacking, and just getting rid of the enemies as quickly as possible. This does not help with that, but can help you get around the battlefield, prevent some very nasty status effects like being paralyzed or held. So it's got its uses. Nice to have, but we do have a level 4 spell that does the same. And again, level 4 spell slots are much more numerous than elixirs of Guileful Movement. Next up is Heroism. Elixir of Heroism. Gain 10 temporary hit points and become blessed until the long rest. So it really is just 10 temporary hit points. Once you've lost them, then that's it. They're lost for goods. Tav here's got 10. Gonna keep attacking him until... There we are. And he doesn't have the 10 temporary hit points anymore, but you don't take this elixir for the temporary hit points at the higher levels anyway. Maybe in the earlier levels it's actually very useful. But I've still got the effects of the Elixir of Heroism. But I still have the plus 1d4 bonus from the Elixir of Heroism, and it stacks with Bless. Let's just bless these 3.
Still alive.
And so now, sorry, Will. We've got a plus 1d4 from the elixir and a 1d4 from bless. So you can really get like double bless on a character with the elixir of heroism. And I like that. You get elixirs of heroism from quite early on in the game and kind of pretty useful for most of the game. Maybe towards the end of the game in Act 3, you've probably got quite high chances to hit anyway. But also it does affect your saving throws. So it's both offensive and defensive at the same time. Then we have the Elixir of Peerless Focus. Useful only for spellcasters. So I've Shadowheart drink this. Gain advantage on concentration saving throws and against being charmed, and magic can't put you to sleep. So if Tav here attacks Shadowheart now, she had advantage on that because of the potion. She was already a half-elf, so she couldn't be magically put to sleep anyway. And she had advantage on saving throws against being charmed. So for elves and half-elves, this isn't so useful because you already have half of the effects of the potion anyway. But there are a few items that either give advantage on constitution saving throws or concentration saving throws. And there is a feat, Warcaster, which gives that advantage on constitution saving throws anyway. Ah, she's already got Warcaster here. So actually, this is kind of proving my point. We do have a feat that does half of the same thing. So don't use this elixir on anyone who's got Warcaster. But if you really, really want this ability to have advantage on saving throws for concentration, perhaps you just want to pick Warcaster anyway, because then you free up your elixir slot for something else. Now, I don't particularly use these very much. Like I said, the game kind of rewards you more for being offensive and getting rid of people than trying to be defensive. But sometimes you don't always have enough of these elixirs at the top, to be honest. Or you haven't taken the feat, and you've got a really important spell, I don't know, Hunger of Hadar, Bless even, and you just want to make sure you can have it, keep it up. Now I've lumped together a whole load of elixirs, and I've just labeled it simply as resistance. And the elixirs I've included in that are any of the elixirs that give resistance to a type of damage. So for example, fire, lightning, psychic, there's cold, probably some acid, poison, any of the damage types you can think of. There is force resistance, even acid resistance. Some of these cannot be crafted, or you find them in the game, buy them from vendors. So let's say, Will, I have left you out for most of these, haven't I? Right, elixir of necrotic resistance. He's now resistant to necrotic damage until long rest. So it's only for one type of resistance each. Some of them do have some extra abilities, such as elixir fire resistance means you can't burn, so you're free to walk in fire. That's useful. The lightning resistance stops you from being shocked, electrocuted or jolted, or otherwise affected by lightning, which is nice. The one for poison resistance, I don't know if I've got any here. I do. You can no longer be poisoned. So for example, if you're in the Bibberbang field in the Underdark, and you accidentally set off the Bibberbangs, if you drink one of these, you'll be completely safe. The thing is, it's very situational. In some situations, they're very useful, but again, it's usually easier in battle to take people down than try and be a bit defensive. But they're not bad. I do use them at times, right? I like to have them in my inventory just for those times where I think, oh, do you know what? It'd be really useful to have the poison resistance because there's traps with poison clouds or something. Next up, the Elixir of Sea Invisibility. And we can see here, there's actually the spell, Scroll of Sea Invisibility as well. Drink this elixir to spot invisible creatures, and that's what it does. So yeah, well, why not? Not where he's already used his bonus action, right? Gale. So there we are. You can see invisible creatures within 30 feet. Creatures must succeed a dexterity saving throw or lose their invisibility. And you can see this little eye above his head means he can see invisibility potentially. But yeah, there is a spell, which is a level 2 spell. I'm sure Gale has it here. There it is, see invisibility. And this doesn't require concentration and has exactly the same effect. So now we can doubly see invisibility, one for each eye perhaps. There is a way to get Volo to give you this effect permanently as well. I'm going to leave it in C tier. There aren't too many times where you actually need this. And well, it depends on how you want to roleplay, whether you want to have Volo give you this effect of see invisibility or not. I tend to nowadays, but also there is just a level 2 spell. And again, I'd rather use a level 2 spell slot than use up my elixir slot for that day. Next up is the Tadpole Elixir. I've only got one. Gain Psionic Weakening. So you yourself have disadvantage on Constitution, Wisdom, and Intelligence saving throws. The Constitution and especially Wisdom It's actually pretty annoying, if you're a spellcaster at least, for the Constitution. The Wisdom just helps save against, or in this case not save because we've got disadvantage, against controlling spells like Hold Person, Hypnotic Pattern, any of those nasty spells. But you gain Psionic Enrichment. After using a Tadpole power, affected entities gain advantage on all attacks for 3 rounds. This is a bit like a temporary Risky Ring, where the Risky Ring gives you advantage on all attacks and disadvantage on all saving throws, but you do need to use a Tadpole power. So again, depending on your role playing and your character choices, this might not even be available for your character. So if he uses, it doesn't really matter, Force Tunnel, he has Psionic Enrichment, and now he's got advantage on all attacks. Now, being a barbarian, perhaps that's not so useful because I've always got Reckless Attack if I want it. And it does last, here it says, it says 3 turns, it lasts for 3 turns, that's what it says on the tin. But Constitution. Well, this Constitution's quite high. It doesn't show the saving throw against Blight. Don't really know why, but I definitely failed it. Because he's resistant for some reason. I actually don't know why it's resistant to necrotic damage here. Oh, right, no, because of the Aura of Warding. Right, yeah. So he failed his saving throw, possibly because of the Elixir. This is one I've actually almost never used in the game. Because if I've got a character who I'm okay having advantage with attacks, but disadvantage with some saving throws, I tend to give them the Risky Ring anyway. And it's a very strong ring for those who are built for it or are okay with it. It is reliant on you using a Tadpole power to get the advantage out of it, not the advantage, but yeah, to get the advantage out of it. But you have the constant disadvantage. I'm hovering between B and C, but perhaps some of you have got a build where this comes in really, really useful. Now, the Elixir of Universal Resistance, well, it's a misnomer. It's not really an elixir. It is an elixir in name. So we've got Psionic Weakening as the current elixir. What does it do? Gain resistance to all damage for 10 turns. This is really a potion. It doesn't replace the effects of an elixir. So although the name says Elixir of Universal Resistance, it's only, an elixir name. Really, it's just a potion. So I'm just going to leave it off. It doesn't compete with all these other elixirs. Hasn't got the same opportunity cost. Next up, Elixir of Viciousness. The number you need to roll to land a critical hit is reduced by 1. It doesn't say it makes it 19, it reduces it by 1. There we are. Now we can't really see the effect, but I've got here, for example, a bow, which has the same effect, improved critical. The number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. And effectively, these effects do stack. So sorry, everyone. There we are. All right, what did I... 18. And I rolled with advantage because I'm a barbarian. I can choose to do that. And this is for every single attack. And you don't need to be using the bow, for example here, to have the improved critical stack with the elixir. There are numerous items and effects, but seeing people online have the number needed for a critical hit to be as low as, I think, 11 or 12 and give someone advantage. Actually really, really strong. I'm going to put this in A tier, but I would say it works best when you have other items that help you reduce the number needed for a critical hit, or you have a way of gaining advantage very easily because you get 2 goes at trying to get a critical hit. For example, a barbarian with reckless attack, or the risky ring, which I mentioned earlier. And lastly, the Elixir of Vigilance. Drink to gain a +5 bonus to initiative. In addition, you can't be surprised. This is actually exactly the same effect as the alert feat. Now, considering initiative is a 1d4 roll plus your dexterity modifier plus any other bonuses to initiative, which I do think barbarians get. Maybe not. Danger Sense. Feral Instinct, there we are. Also, +3 bonus to initiative, and can't be surprised. Okay, perhaps this wasn't the best character to use it on. The lack of surprise from the elixir is redundant on the barbarian here, but I now need to get into a fight. Initiative 14. He's always going to be going first. So +2 from dexterity, +3 from barbarian, +5 from the potion, or the elixir, sorry, and then whatever I roll on 1d4. There we are. Job done. Now, although this can be replaced by a feat, that feat itself is really strong. The effect of this is so important. Going first is such a good thing in this game. In any turn-based game, if you can go first, knock out 2 or 3, kill 2 or 3 of your enemies, they're never going to hit you. It makes the future rounds even easier. I would say it's potentially a bit overkill on characters who have lots of bonuses to initiative already. So I think Gloomstalkers also get a bonus as well at some point. We've got Barbarians, anyone with a high dexterity. Perhaps you don't need it. And obviously if you've got the feat, then you don't need this. But one way to think about this is your Elixir slot is basically a slot for a very strong feat. And so one last time about the opportunity cost. Do I want to use See Invisibility, where most of the time things aren't invisible? Or do I want to get extra actions in combat, or have a massive strength, or go first to make sure I can just kill everything before they get a turn anyway? So let me know what you think of each of these elixirs. Have I woefully misplaced one of these? Would you shove one down, shove one straight up? Any uses that I didn't go through like I said earlier? Perhaps I'm missing something about one of these elixirs. Please let us all know, and do share your information with everyone. Thank you to all the members of my channel and to you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one.